Video that you're about to view only contains audio only as it's from a wrestling internet radio show. If you are looking for wrestling video footage, you will not find that on this video. This wrestling radio show may contain strong language that may be offensive to those under the age of 18. If you are under the age of 18, please get permission to listen to this episode. Enjoy, comment, and subscribe. Next on the RCWR show, yours truly, LS, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, is going to be rolling up his sleeves once more and putting on the thinking cap to determine who's going to be walking away victorious from the 9th annual Final Resolution pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way this Sunday live on pay-per-view. It is match prediction time, folks. It's the RCWR show called That Match Special, and it begins right now. Welcoming you to the RCWR show. I am, of course, as always, LS, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Thank you guys for checking out this episode right now on blogtalkradio.com and over at our sister website at infinityOneProductions.com. Matt, shout out to those of you that are checking this out right now on Stitcher, and special shout out to those of you that are checking this out on YouTube, especially our YouTube subscribers. Hey, how's it going? Hey, got a pretty jam-packed episode for you guys today, as we're going to be offering match predictions for this Sunday's pay-per-view. You know how we do it over here. As always, we love hearing from you all. You know, you can interact with us during the course of this episode by hitting us up at our chat room at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show. You can also interact with us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, take time out to befriend us on Facebook at Infinity One Productions. Been getting quite a few number of likes within recent weeks. Appreciate that support. Hey, you know how we do it as always over here on our match prediction special. So without any further ado, guys and gals, let's go on ahead and let's jump right into it. So, we have the 9th annual Final Resolution pay-per-view that's going to be making its way from the Impact Wrestling Zone venue in Orlando, Florida, and it should be a pretty solid event when you just think about the matches that is on paper. 7 matches total. Right ingredients to be a very memorable pay-per-view. But you know, there's just a couple of things that just pop up in my mind that I can't help but think about going into Sunday's 9th annual Final Resolution. One of the things that jumps out to me off the break is it possible now that Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff could possibly not show up once again? As let's not forget, folks, last year at the 2011 Final Resolution pay-per-view, neither Hulk Hogan or Eric Bischoff made an appearance at that pay-per-view, and it made it officially be the first pay-per-view that both men missed since joining TNA back in 2009. How about that? And let's not also forget that just at last year's Final Resolution, how some of us forget, Jeff Jarrett, Karen Jarrett. It was one of the last times that we had saw them. As remember, Jeff Jarrett had took on Jeff Hardy in a steel cage match where Karen Jarrett was handcuffed to Sting at ringside. And remember the stipulation for that match that Jarrett and Hardy had. Had Jarrett won, Hardy would have to leave TNA. But since that's not what happened, as Hardy had won, he automatically had became the number 1 contender for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at that year's Genesis. And also, both Jarretts were fired from TNA Wrestling, of course, going down to do some work with the AAA Mexican promotion. You know, just a lot of things that's just popping up in my head when I think about what had happened last year. Kind of gives me the impression this should be a very memorable Final Resolution pay-per-view. Got a few little main ingredients there. Just keep those little things in the back of your head there when you're getting ready to check out this Sunday's pay-per-view. Alright, you know how we do it over here. We go over each match from top to bottom. So let's go on ahead, guys and gals, and let's kick things off. In the first match that I want to talk about on this episode, I want to talk about that Kenny King versus Rob Van Dam for the X Division title. Now, as you all may have seen from this past Thursday night on Impact Wrestling Live, Kenny King had won a triple threat match as he defeated Zema Ion and Kid Cash to become the new #1 contender to face Rob Van Dam for his X Division title. Now, I'm looking at this match and I know exactly where Kenny King has been. I know that he is a Ring of Honor alumni. While he was still with the promotion there, he was one of the current tag team title holders, but unfortunately, as we all have remember earlier in the summer there, he did some business with TNA, which Ring of Honor, they didn't approve because they had some type of a verbal agreement with him, or so they thought, so they quickly cut all ties with him. And ever since then, you were kind of led with the impression that Kenny King was going to be one that you could see weekly on Impact Wrestling Live, but that really wasn't the case. We saw him maybe do about a month, maybe a month and a half worth of episodes, and then all of a sudden, he just poof, disappeared. Wasn't really sure what was going on with him. No, we had some fans that were taking to Twitter personally asking him when was he coming back to TNA, what has he been up to, really being kind of vague about those questions being thrown at him, as he really didn't give a straight up answer. But we saw him make his return last Thursday, as he was one of 3 men that was in a running to determine who was going to be facing, at that respected time, who was going to be facing RVD for his X Division title. Now, we saw Kenny King, rest of the guys in that, they all got eliminated, as Austin Aries was the one that had the opportunity. And of course, as we all remember, Bully Ray had interfered in that match, destroyed the chances of Austin Aries becoming a 2-time X Division champion. But in the meantime, you got Rob Van Dam, who's been holding on to that belt, been a little bit quiet since he's won that title. I look at this match and hands down, I know in my heart it's going to be a really great contest. It's going to be a very interesting bout between these two guys, but I can't really help but think about how Kenny King has just been thrown into things, and he just came back last week. Meanwhile, RVD, he's consistently been there, even though he hasn't been defending the title that often, even though he hasn't been making that many appearances, not really been cutting that many promos. He's just been kind of quietly popping up here and there. Still, he's got a little bit of a more decent track record, appearance-wise, then Kenny King, really can't get into this match, unfortunately, because there's not really that much of a rivalry. But when you think about the athleticism between both of these guys and the agility that both of these men possess physically, it should be a very memorable encounter. But when it's all said and done, I've got RVD retaining his X Division championship. The way I'm looking at it at this point, I'm actually thinking about the future. And there's a name that I have not talked about in quite a long time. And that name is one Jesse Sorsen. Remember, this guy is supposedly getting ready to come back sometime in 2013. And I love the fact that TNA Wrestling, they did kind of do a little something earlier this year and making you remember that, hey, he's still around, he's going to be coming back. And, I'm just thinking about that great feud that he's going to be having with Zema Ion. The way I'm looking at this right now, especially if I were to do this from a writing/booking side of things, I would have RVD retain, and I would have him going into 2013 still the X Division champion. However, I would, in the long haul, within the very first 60, maybe 90 days of the new year, depending on exactly what time frame Jesse Sorsen is going to be coming back, I would be looking into setting up Zema Ion for a feud with Rob Van Dam that would culminate in a total of 3 encounters. Zema Ion in that final encounter getting the X Division title, and then having one impressive streak of victories, whether it be pay-per-views, whether it be a combination of TV appearances, both. I'll take it all. I'll take whatever I can get. But I'm thinking long-term wise, I'm thinking about setting up Zema Ion to be a really strong force to be reckoned with as a X Division champion. Have him just right so that when Jesse returns, there is a lot that fans can really get behind. You know, we all thought earlier this year that maybe it was going to be Zema Ion that was going to be holding on to that X Division title going all the way into 2013 whenever Jesse had returned. But unfortunately, as we saw, it didn't quite work out that way. And that X Division title has been kind of exchanging hands every, seems like 2, maybe 3 months. I do want to see RVD hold it just long enough to work a program with Zema Ion so that the belt can be dropped. But for Final Resolution this Sunday, once again, I'm going to be going with RVD for the victory. Let's go on ahead and let's move on with our next match now, as it brings us to the Blueprint. Matt Morgan teaming up with Who Wants a Mustache Ride? The Big Organ, Mr. Joey Ryan. Both of those two guys are teaming up to take on the team of Chavo, Guerrero Jr., and Big Super Mex Hernandez for the TNA World Heavyweight Tag Team titles. This should be a very, very solid contest right here. You know, I'm looking at this match, and I was kind of going almost back and forth when I was looking at this match. But, you know, the thing that just speaks volumes to me right now is who's got momentum on their side right now, who is more popular right now. And honestly, I love the combination of Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan. They really come off like the Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash of yesteryears. They just remind me so much of that. They got those ingredients of a Brian Kendrick when he had Big Ezekiel Jackson as his bodyguard there for a little bit. It's got those nice little ingredients to it. I really love it. It's got those ingredients of a Christian when he had Tyson Tomko. I love that tradition that they have right there with these two guys just pairing up. And they really have just been very impressive as a team. I love their chemistry together. They have more chemistry than Guerrero and Chavo. I know that might rub some people off the wrong way. Hey, sorry, but I gotta call it how I see it. I just have never really been sold on Chavo Guerrero, Super Mex as tag team champions. If you ask me honestly, how Chavo Guerrero's been doing so far since he's been in TNA, I would honestly have to say he really hasn't been making that much noise. I mean, you saw that nice little video build up, hyping up his debut, hyping up his coming to TNA wrestling, and it was kind of like, okay, you're here. Well, welcome, hope you have a little bit of fun. And I mean, there just really hasn't been that much of a since he's been to TNA wrestling. You know, I look at a guy like Big Super Mex Hernandez, and I'm just saying to myself, with the way this guy looks, why hasn't he broken into a singles competition already? Why hasn't he been successful as a television champion or an X Division champion or a TNA World Heavyweight champion? What exactly is going on? Why can't he go to that very next level? And, you know, I'm a little frustrated always seeing Hernandez kind of take a back seat always going back to that tag division. Yes, he works so well as a tag team specialist. He does. But I want to see him move on to bigger and better things. And who knows, maybe 2013 can be the year of Big Super Mex. I think you guys see where I'm going with this. I'm going with what's working right now. I'm going with what's more popular. And right now, my money is on Big Blueprint, Matt Morgan, Joey Ryan. Of course, I still think about some of the things that's been happening outside of TNA wrestling with Joey Ryan. I think about how he left pro wrestling Gorilla. His last show was just last weekend. I remember how he was posting photos of his final appearance for the promotion that he helped co-founded and was running and wrestling for the promotion for a good number of years. He almost made it with them. As I recall, next year is supposed to be their 10th anniversary. He almost made it with them, but again, he had his final appearance with them last weekend, and very emotional right there. He's really trying to dedicate the time to the TNA promotion right now. He's sacrificing so much, and keep in mind, he's still holding on to that Empire Wrestling Federation title, which he's going to be getting ready to defend shortly. Making his moves here. I really think this is Joey Ryan's time. It might not be the X Division title, but hey, it's the next best thing. A lot of great people have held those TNA tag titles over the years, and I am just really looking at what all's been happening here behind the scenes and just what's been happening on television. And I really love the chances of Matt Morgan, Joey Ryan, leaving this Sunday's pay-per-view as the TNA World Heavyweight Tag Champs. I'm going with Morgan, Joey Ryan for the victory. Now, it would make more sense to see Chavo, Guerrero, and Hernandez maybe try to chase after the tag titles for a little bit. I do see some really nice curveballs happening in this match. I see a lot of dirty tactics, and I could see something happening in a way where Chavo, Guerrero, Hernandez, they felt robbed and they want to try to get another rematch. I can see these four guys going at it for about 2-3 months, but when it's all said and done, Morgan, Ryan, they'll keep the titles. But I like the idea of a Guerrero and Hernandez chasing after the tag titles. I think they're better when they're chasing after the gold belts. Not so good once they have them. Morgan, Joey Ryan for the victory. Let's go on with our next match now, guys. Which brings us to Aces and Eights, as they're going to be taking on Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Garett Bischoff, and Wes Brisco. Now, as we all had saw from this past Thursday night's episode of Impact Wrestling, we had saw Kurt Angle in singles competition against Doc, and it looked as if he was about to pick up the victory as he had applied the ankle lock. However, those damn Aces and Eights, they got involved, and they came to their brother Doc's aid, and the match was thrown out. Looked as if the numbers game was piling up on Kurt Angle. Looked like he was about to get another beatdown by the gang of biker members, when all of a sudden we had saw Wes Brisco, Samoa Joe, Garett Bischoff all come to Kurt Angle's aid. Aces and Eights, they didn't want to have any part to do with these guys. They quickly left the ring. Kurt Angle grabbing a microphone and issuing them a challenge. Hey, Aces and Eights, get 4 of your best guys. Meet the 4 of us this Sunday at Final Resolution. And so this is how we have come to this match. You think about the history that Kurt Angle has with Garett Bischoff, with Wes Brisco. You think about how when Devon had parted ways with TNA Wrestling, how Garett Bischoff was just left dangling in the wind trying to fend for himself, and Kurt Angle was somewhat there, kind of being that bigger brother to Garett Bischoff. And then slowly we had saw Wes Brisco behind the scenes, always making his little cameo appearances. You know that history that Wes has with Kurt Angle. You know the history that Brisco, name itself, has with Kurt Angle, as he's very familiar with Wet Brisco's father, his whole family. So a lot of history right there between the Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist, Wes Brisco, Garett Bischoff, and you just throw in Samoa Joe. And, I still don't really feel Samoa Joe should be involved in this match. I know he's looking for retribution because of what had happened from this past Thursday night. As Aces and Eights, they attacked him. They basically cost him his television title. I get that, but I still don't really feel he needs to be involved in this match. He just seems so out of place, but it is what it is. I think there's going to be some very interesting dynamics that's going to come about with this match. If it was me, if I was booking this, I would love to see Garett Bischoff and Wes Brisco turn on Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. We've been hearing it for a good number of weeks now that Wes Brisco, Garett Bischoff, they are in Aces and Eights. And, it would just seem so perfect. It would really be very understandable for Garett Bischoff to be involved in Aces and Eights. Wes Brisco, hey, I can see that happen. You kind of have that backstory that's already there. We were one of the first wrestling radio shows to say it a couple of weeks back when we had saw the slow ingredients of what looked as if Wes Brisco was going to be revealed as one of the members in Aces and Eights, and it magnified even more when we had saw, unfortunately, Al Snow just going MIA, D'Lo Brown stepping in his place to do the judging for whether or not Wes Brisco was going to get a TNA wrestling contract, and D'Lo Brown having the last say. He would give Brisco a contract. You just kind of wonder right here, was Al Snow possibly going to say no to Wes Brisco? And did the Aces and Eights have anything to do with Al Snow somehow passing out and ending up in a hospital? Who would really benefit from that? And as we said on Impact Showdown Radio this past Thursday night, Wes Brisco, hands down, he would be able to benefit from it. But maybe D'Lo Brown might have a little bit of something to do with the Aces and Eights. But you see where I'm going with this. I think that the ingredients are there. And if it was me booking this, setting it up right, I would love to see Garett Bischoff, Wes Brisco, at some point during this match, turn on Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, and it's revealed that these guys are part of Aces and Eights, and they just proceed to beat down the holy heck out of Joe and Kurt Angle. Would set up a really great, intense episode of Impact Wrestling going into the following week. I'm going with Aces and Eights for the victory right here, simply because we need a little bit of shock value. I honestly feel that if you don't go that route, you just have it be just a straight up regular 4-on-4 match, and you just have the team of Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Garett, Brisco win. I just feel that just takes quite a bit of momentum from Aces and Eights, especially considering Devon just won the television title. I just feel, it would just really kind of hurt their momentum a little bit. So I'm going for the continuation of Aces and Eights momentum, but I'm also going for a little bit of shock value. Let's see Aces and Eights pick up the victory. Let's move on with our next match, guys, which brings us to Bully Ray taking on Austin Aries. It is the match that Hulk Hogan did not want to make. As Hulk Hogan revealed this past Thursday night on Impact Wrestling, 30 years he has been nothing but a professional. He has never mixed business with personal. But what has been happening with Bully Ray and his daughter, Brooke Hogan, as it looks like they are an item. Hogan not really loving that. And then you add in Austin Aries, who's been throwing in some really, really derogatory comments at Brooke Hogan that would make anybody, a father or a boyfriend, want to kick his ass around the arena. And that's exactly what Bully Ray wants to do. Bully Ray was denied so many times, but eventually we did see the Hulkster make this match official. I'm looking at this match, and this one I really had a difficult time trying to book. I really looked at it from both sides. And when I was looking at this, I said to myself, well, you know what? Who needs this more? Who really needs this win more? And I kind of looked at it and I said, well, Bully Ray, he did take on Austin Aries earlier in the year, and Austin Aries did pick up the victory. Maybe, just maybe, it's Bully Ray's turn to pick up a victory right here, and maybe it could give him a little bit of boost going into Thursday. But Hulk Hogan still not a happy camper that Bully Ray has relations with his daughter. Hogan just never really going to be able to get over that. I'm kind of looking at that. I thought that was kind of interesting, but then for some weird reason, this just popped in my head, and that's the beautiful thing about our show, is that what we set up and what we talk about on here, it is original thinking. And when I say it's original thinking, you got those guys out there that like to try to sit up. They have their own respected show, and they like to go around and they like to listen to other people's shows, and they go, oh, that's good, that's good. I'm going to try to take that, make that be my own, or I'm going to talk like this. I'm going to bring these up just like this show did. Unfortunately, it doesn't make you an original because you can't come up with your own thoughts, and that's the beautiful thing about our shows over here, is that we don't listen to other shows. We just do the research that we have at our end. We watch the shows just like you guys. We kick back. We really marinate on it. And I really marinated on this match. And I came up with a brainstorm of an idea. How badass would it be in this match between Bully Ray and Austin Aries to see Brooke Hogan come down, and she is really concerned. She's trying to show that she is trying to be very loyal to Bully Ray, and she's trying to be in his corner and root him on. And we could just see Austin Aries sit up, and he could just continue to throw insults out there at her, and it's just really getting into the head of Bully Ray. And if you do this right, you could set it up in a way where, unfortunately, Bully Ray, he becomes too hot-headed. He's not able to focus. Austin Aries picks up the victory. You could have Bully Ray sit up, say to the Hulkster, he wants another crack at Austin Aries. Hogan, no, knew this was going to happen. No, you're not getting another match. You can threaten me. You can sit up and say you're going to take the arena hostage all you want. Not going to happen. That's one nice little scenario. But then I really, really started thinking about this. And I'm saying to myself, you know what? How badass would it be to see Brooke Hogan do a heel turn? Okay? Same scenario. She comes on now. She's rooting on Bully Ray. Austin Aries, he's throwing those insults out there, and we see Bully Ray, he's getting all hot-headed. He's trying to, focus on the match, and he just loses his cool, and he's just really going at it. Really intense, brutal match. He's trying to defend the honor of Brooke. And then maybe at some point in the match, we could see Brooke Hogan try to get in the ring, as the referee could be taken out at some point. And maybe we could kind of see Brooke tell Bully Ray, hey, I want to hit him, or something like that. And Bully Ray, he proceeds to try to pick up Austin Aries, set him up so that Brooke can hit him. And then in that weird moment right there, we just see Brooke Hogan just turn on Bully Ray, do a low blow, kick him, whatever, but get him in the groin. And we see Bully Ray, he just falls to his knees, and he just looks on in shock like, WTF, what the hell are you doing? And we could just see Austin Aries set up Bully Ray for that devastating brain buster, followed by the horns of Aries. Hey, Brooke has already left the ring by now. Referee has already come through. Referee counts to 1, 2, 3. Austin Aries picks up the win. Then for a really loud shock value. You see Brooke get in the ring, and she just has this look on her face. Nice little evil little smirk. Her, Austin Aries, they just start locking up, tongue in the mouth and all. You see Hulk Hogan come out, and he just looks pissed off. I love that. I think that would just be some really great shock value that can just really take TNA Wrestling blazing into the first quarter of 2013 with a heel Brooke Hogan. Now, some of you all may be listening to that. You may be like, oh, man, I don't really know. That's not really my cup of tea. I'm not really sure. I think it has the greatest potential. You just want to talk about the shock value alone. I think that would be really freaking solid. Now, whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know. I'm just telling you how I would do this. If it was me, I would honestly have Austin Aries pick up the victory due to interference from Brooke. Now, if Brooke was not to play a factor in this match, then I would go with Bully Ray. Now, for there's just the sake of the argument, because I know some of you guys are probably hearing this, you're probably like, well, he's kind of giving two answers here. I'll go with one definite answer. I'm going to say that Bully Ray is going to pick up the win. But don't be too surprised if you might see that little shock value happen there. I'll go with Bully Ray for the win in the meantime. All right, let's move right along, folks, and let's take it up with our next match now, as it's now time to talk about the TNA Knockouts title, as the very lovely, the beautiful, hardcore country Mickie James is going to be taking on the Knockouts champion, Miss Tara. Of course, Mickie James had that long, difficult journey. She had the health problems, had needed a little bit of surgery. Been a little bit of a rough year for her, but she's come back. She looks better than ever. She kind of slimmed down a little bit, looks a little bit more toned up. Man, she is just really looking on fire right now, and she is taking on Tara. Tara has been somewhat kind of chilled ever since she had got done with her program with Miss Tessmacher. Now it just kind of seems like the only thing that's been really hot as of late for her is her association with her so-called Hollywood boyfriend, Jesse, and of course the crowd not really knowing who the heck he is, nor do they really care about this guy. As far as a lot of people are concerned, this is Robbie E version 2.0. And hey, you're not going to get any argument from me on that one, guys and gals. But we have this match, somewhat have a little bit of a storyline into this. And, it's not really quite enough for me to really sink my teeth into. I get it. Mickie James, rough year. Could this be her time? Honestly, I love Mickie James. I've been a Mickie James fan for many, many years. I could remember seeing her and her sister get it on in other women's wrestling promotions. I could throw names at you and you guys wouldn't even know what promotions I'm talking about. They were pretty much that underground, that independent. And, I've always been a fan of hers, but this match that she's going to be having against Tara on Sunday, I just don't see her picking up the victory. And I'm going to let you guys know why I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening because of one thing that was just a really, really big monkey wrench that was just thrown into this match to make you not really want to focus on it too much. And I think you guys know what I'm talking about. Of course, we saw the return of Let Those Pigeons Loose. Velvet Sky make her return after being away from the company for 6 months. Remember, the negotiations didn't go too well. Looked as if she parted ways, but TNA President Dixie Carter and crew, they did everything they could, and they were very successful in getting Velvet Sky to come on back to the promotion, giving her whatever it is that she needed, whether it be financial, emotionally, spiritually. They hooked her up. We got Velvet Sky back. And Velvet Sky letting it be known that 2013 is going to be the year of Velvet Sky as TNA Knockouts champion. So, it's really hard to kind of really get into this match knowing that Velvet Sky is just around the corner. For me, I look at this match and what I'm thinking about is who would have a better program with Velvet Sky for the Knockouts title. And right now, I would have to go with Tara. Tara, she hasn't really been a heel that long. She's only been at it for just a couple of months now. You got Mickie James. I would say, if anything, you might want to turn Mickie James face. Correction, you might want to turn Mickie James heel because Mickie James has been face for a good little while now. I think at this point, if anybody else on the knockout side is going to go heel, it needs to be Mickie James. I just can't see a face Mickie James taking on a face Velvet Sky. It just really doesn't work for me, although it would be a really great match. It would be really nice to see just two baby faces just going at it. I kind of want to get a boo and cheer thing going here. I want to see that good versus evil. So I'm just thinking about who'd have that better program. I got to go with the lovely Tara working with Velvet Sky. So you guys see where I'm going with this. I got Tara retaining over Mickie James. And great setup. We could see Tara come out and she could pretty much boost about how she pretty much embarrass Mickie James, that pretty much there isn't anybody that could beat her. Perfect setup for Velvet Sky. And hey, maybe, who knows, once again we could see Velvet Sky get put into a situation where she's going to have to try to earn her way to the knockout spot. And maybe this could be a case right here where we could see Gail Kim, a couple of other knockouts return and say, hey, you talking about you're going to be a knockouts champion, you got to go to the back of the line, sister. We were here while you were gone. We got the shot next. And maybe we could see something happen where Velvet is going to have to try to fight her way to the top to become the new number one contender. But make no mistake about it, as far as who would have a better program in setting up Velvet Sky to become a TNA Knockouts champion, it's going to happen. You got to go with Tara. So Tara for the victory over Mickie James. But it should be a great encounter. These two girls, they have just a great history together in the ring, throwing it down. So many great matches that they had in the WWE. I always love it when these two girls hook up. It's going to be another classic encounter, that I can assure you guys. Let's go on ahead and let's talk about the next match that is on the card for Final Resolution this Sunday, which is the one last time match, as it's pretty much being dubbed the one final time. Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles going head to head. Of course, AJ Styles, he has just been in a really, really bad funk all year. He had the messed up Claire Lynch storyline. He had Daniels and Kazarian turning on him. He's just been having the problems there where he didn't win the Bound for Glory series, didn't win his Bound for Glory series match, didn't even sit up and become the new number one contender as a result of him losing that match a couple of months back at the the Battle for Glory pay-per-view. He's unfortunately not going to be able to compete for the World Heavyweight title for a whole calendar year, not until Bound for Glory 2013, and even at that, it's not necessarily a guarantee that he's going to have a shot. So AJ Styles really been in a bad funk as of late, and as we've seen on Impact Television within recent weeks, he was paired up with James Storm. Even though the team has been picking up the wins courtesy by James Storm, AJ Styles has been pretty ticked off. Seems like he wanted to be the one to pick up the victories there. AJ Styles really beating himself up right here. AJ Styles back against the wall as Daniels comes along, wants to try to cheer him up for old time's sake, wants to try to take him on one last time. we got this match that's happening right here between these two guys. You know, a lot of people, they have always crapped on whenever AJ Styles Daniels hook up in a match. A lot of them always want to sit up and say, you know what, these guys getting it on. They've been at it for so many times. It's so old. Can't we see something new? Why do we keep getting this over and over and over? Hey, I feel where you guys are coming from, but let's really break it down. You gotta admit, hands down, no matter how many times these guys hook up, you're never exactly watching the same match twice. These guys, every time they hook up, they always deliver a 5-star quality type of match. They rarely, and I use that word very passionately and very strongly, they rarely have a bad match. So you look at this and you're saying to yourself, you know what, if this is really going to be the last time that these two guys are going to hook up, then you know they're going to go all balls out. I know for a fact we're going to see some blood. We're going to see the whole 9 yards. You know, as long as you've been a TNA wrestling fan and you've been watching AJ Styles Daniels fight over the years, you know this is going to be one of the ages. You know, it's so funny. We hear so many people sit up and complain about this, but I bet you the same people that complain about these two guys locking it up, they will also probably be the same ones that love all the feuds that Ric Flair had with the Stinger, or Ric Flair had with Dusty Rhodes, or that Ric Flair had with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. You know, this is pretty much right up there with those respected matches, as these guys, they know how to tell a story in that ring. It's going to be a great pure wrestling match. I'm really looking forward to it. Of course, Daniels, one of my favorite guys. He has just come a long way within recent years. I'm just really loving the work that he has just been really putting out there all this year. I love the guy. He's one of my favorites. He's got such great ego charisma. I mean, he's just oozing with it. I love this guy. All said and done, no, when you think about who needs this win more, you know, I like the angle that's happening right now with AJ Styles. I love hearing this whole possibility of AJ Styles being in a funk, and I love that. You know, I want to see where it goes. I want to see AJ Styles really get pushed to his core where he can't really take it anymore. And I think you guys see where I'm going with this. I want to see Daniels pick up the victory. To me, it just seems to make more sense to see Daniels pick up the victory. You know, if this is playing out the way that we all are believing it to be, it sounds like it's imminent that AJ Styles is going to be taking some much well-deserved time off to relax, charge his batteries for a little bit, spend some time with the wife and the kids. Hey, nothing wrong with that. Recharge your batteries, come on back a few months later, be better than ever. I think this is going to be one of the final matches that is just going to push AJ Styles over the edge. And I think it's going to be a great setup going into Thursday's Impact Wrestling, where that will probably be the final time that we see AJ Styles, as he'll pretty much just say goodbye. He's just going to leave the company in frustration. I can just really see that happening. And meanwhile, Daniels, this win over AJ Styles, this would just really catapult him. This would just really take him up there to that next level. Great bragging rights. I mean, just think about it. You got Daniels coming on now on next Thursday's Impact Wrestling or whatever like that, and he basically will be boosting about how he is the guy that basically made AJ Styles quit TNA Wrestling. He could probably proclaim himself to be the savior of TNA Wrestling because he got rid of the poster child for the company, the Mr. Suck Up. You know what I mean? You just go on and on and on, but Daniels would just have so much ammunition on AJ. But rest assured, I know this is being dubbed as one final time. I just have this weird feeling that we may see AJ Styles and Daniels lock it up when AJ does decide to make his return. But for Final Resolution this Sunday, I've got to go with Daniels picking up the victory. All right, folks, we got one last match for you guys as it's time. Let's talk about the main event match that's going to be happening for this Sunday. We got Bobby Roode that's going to be taking on the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Jeff Hardy. I'm loving this right here. Once more, Bobby Roode, Jeff Hardy. Bobby Roode really came out of nowhere here, as originally it looked as if James Storm was the one that was going to be the number one contender to take on Jeff Hardy. But it's funny how much a difference a week can make, as we saw Bobby Roode come on out and he pretty much manipulated his way into having a match with the Cowboy for that number one contender spot, and he did what was necessary to cheat his way into taking that covenant spot, and has now put himself into a position where he is now a serious threat to Jeff Hardy's championship. He is now in a position where he could become a TNA World Heavyweight Champion once again. You know, you're looking at this, and it just speaks large volumes to me, especially when you saw the events of what had occurred on Impact this past Thursday, as you're led with the impression there that Bobby Roode had paid aces and eights to attack Jeff Hardy. Just knowing that going into Sunday's pay-per-view, one thing that has to go to mind, which is, okay, is Jeff Hardy actually 100% after the beatdown that he had took from the aces and eights? Is he going to be ready to go, or is he just going to be coming just at 50%? How's Jeff Hardy going to be holding up? The other thing that you guys need to be thinking about going into this match is it highly possible that the aces and eights could interfere in this match and help set up Bobby Roode to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion? Two very interesting questions, and those are very legit questions that many will probably be thinking about as these two men get it on. Hands down, should be a really great match. I'm very curious to see how Jeff Hardy is genuinely going to hold up physically after the great match that he had at the last pay-per-view in that ladders match. That right there was just one of the most ridiculous ladder matches that I have seen in quite a long time. It was just one of those ladder matches, even though it was really nice seeing Jeff Hardy go back to being the Jeff Hardy of old at the Turning Point pay-per-view. I just really couldn't help but say, ouch, that back or the neck, the legs, everything's got to be hurting. So very curious to see how he does this time around, now that pretty much a month has been removed, so to speak, from the last pay-per-view. But, you know, this should be a really great encounter between these two guys. It's actually going to be one of my favorites of the night, one of my favorite highlights of checking out. And, you know, when it's all said and done, you know, if I were to set this up right, I love what had happened on Thursday's Impact Wrestling. Just the fact that aces and eights, for the right amount of money, they did Bobby Roode's dirty work. I'm kind of looking at that and I'm saying to myself, is it possible that Bobby Roode may have bought his way to the TNA World Heavyweight title? You know, one other thing that comes into my mind, folks, is that Jeff Hardy's TNA contract is going to be expiring very, very shortly. And TNA, they have tried very hard. They've been very aggressive with renegotiating contract here. And to our knowledge, Jeff Hardy has not re-signed just yet. If he has re-signed, they're keeping it on the hush. You know, a lot to be thinking about with this match. And, you know, quite honestly, with Jeff Hardy's current contract situation, you know, it really wouldn't surprise me if the belt did go to Robert Roode. And quite honestly, I think you guys see where I am going with this. You know, I'm really thinking about this here, and I don't know, it's a really tough call, because on the one hand, I could see Bobby Roode walking away this Sunday with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, as the question that I'm asking myself right now is, where do you go with Bobby Roode if he doesn't get the belt from Jeff Hardy this Sunday. What happens next? Very interesting dilemma right there. Well, I was kind of thinking about that. And one scenario that comes into my mind, and it should be duly noted, that there is a name that I have not mentioned for this pay-per-view, as this guy, he has no match. And he could play a very serious factor into the pay-per-view this Sunday. Of course, I'm talking about the Cowboy James Storm. What better way to get payback for what Bobby Roode had did to him a couple of weeks back, basically cheating his way to become the new number one contender, stealing his spot that he had earned at the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. What better way to get retribution here than to sit up and interfere in this match and cost Bobby Roode the TNA World Heavyweight Championship? Payback indeed is a bitch, folks. And that's exactly what I'm looking at. Now, if I were setting this up right, I would actually have aces and eights maybe make some type of an appearance. And hey, it could be one of those type of scenarios where, hey, maybe the ref isn't quite looking. Maybe the ref gets distracted, gets taken out. Aces and eights, they try to come to the aid of Bobby Roode once again, and they do a little something to Jeff Hardy. They hurry up, they roll out, and just when we think Bobby Roode, hey, it's over with, miraculously somehow we see Jeff Hardy, he kicks out. Bobby Roode, he's pretty pissed off. He's not really sure what to do. He's trying to wait for Jeff Hardy to come to so he could try to set him up for whatever. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we see James Storm. He comes on down and he starts beating the holy crap out of Bobby Roode. Sets him up for that last call super kick. Jeff Hardy goes in, picks up the victory. Jeff Hardy retains the title. That's the way I would be setting this up right now. I don't really think January 2013 needs to kick off with Bobby Roode as the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Not just yet. I still think that things are going pretty smoothly. I still think there's that line of communication going between Jeff Hardy and TNA upper management. They could be very well close to some type of a deal. So just keeping that in mind, and how much Jeff Hardy has been really loving his run in TNA wrestling, especially as of late. I just really don't see any reason why Bobby Roode would become TNA World Heavyweight Champion. If Roode were to become champion at this Sunday's pay-per-view, take that as a sign that the negotiations aren't going as smoothly as we would like to believe between TNA Wrestling and Jeff Hardy. And take that as a sign that Hardy could very well be on his way out the door if Bobby Roode picks up the title. But the way I'm booking this for Sunday, keeping all those things in mind, don't be too surprised. Look for an interference from James Storm in this match, as I think he's going to be that it factor. He's going to be that deciding factor. He's going to play a very serious role in this match, I feel. But when it's all said and done, all the smoke has cleared. Jeff Hardy, your TNA World Heavyweight Champion going into 2013. And that, folks, is our match predictions for TNA Final Resolution. Let's pick things up from the very top, do a brief recap here, and it goes as follows, folks. For the TNA X Division title, I have Kenny King losing to RVD. So RVD, still your X Division champion. For the TNA Tag Titles, I have the team of Matt Morgan and Joey Ryan picking up the victory. For Aces and Eights, taking on Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Garett Bischoff, Wes Brisco, I have Aces and Eights really needing a win right here. Look for shock value. Match between Bully Ray, Austin Aries. I have Bully Ray picking up the victory, but I really stand firm on the way I said I would book this personally. Would really be nice to see Brooke Hogan switch alliances and pair up with Austin Aries, as I really think that would have a few months of longevity to it. But assuming that the TNA writers aren't thinking like that, I'm going to go with just Bully Ray picking up the victory over Austin Aries. Mickie James versus Tara for the Knockouts Championship. I have the lovely Tara picking up the win, continuing on to be Knockouts Champion. Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, one final time. I have Christopher Daniels picking up the win, setting up AJ Styles for his swan song departure from the company. And for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship match between Bobby Roode, Jeff Hardy, I strongly believe that it's a high possibility Aces and Eights could play a factor in this, but I strongly feel that James Storm, who surprisingly does not have a match on this pay-per-view, I have him being that deciding factor that goes in favor of Jeff Hardy retaining his TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Look for interference from the Cowboy, as Jeff Hardy will be able to retain his title. And that's going to do it, folks. Hey, what are your match predictions? We'd love to hear from you. Hit us up right now at Infinity1Prod on Twitter and let us know. Hey, and if you're checking this out on YouTube, submit your predictions right at the bottom in the comment section. And hey, if you are on point, we will give you props live on the air as it all leads up into the RCWR post show covering the full fallout from the TNA Final Resolution pay-per-view. Hey, if you plan on checking out the pay-per-view, you're going to be with some buddies, hey, make sure you call into the post show as we want to get your take on how you either liked or disliked the pay-per-view. And hey, one quick programming note for you guys. If you haven't taken the time to vote for your TNA Wrestler of the Year, get that jump now, as we have the poll that is open. It's been open for several weeks now, but it's getting ready to close in a couple of weeks, and you still have enough time to cast in your vote, as we'll be revealing on the RCWR show coming up on December 29th as we take a look back in a year from TNA Wrestling, what worked for them this year, what didn't work, what do they need to do going forward. It's going to be a really nice retrospective episode, and on that episode we'll be revealing the TNA Wrestler of the Year. So make sure you join us for that episode December 29th. Polling will be open until then, so make sure you get on out there. A lot of votes have been coming in, and hey, for those of you that have voted so far, we appreciate it. And hey, really great way to let your voices be heard. Great number of you have been casting in votes, and you cast in those votes on a daily basis. If you haven't voted yet, let your voices be heard and go vote now. Hey, the talk of wrestling, it may end here, but as always, it continues at our website at infinity1productions.com, where we cover so much more than wrestling. We cover a little bit of everything, so be sure to check that out. And also be sure to subscribe to us in the iTunes and Zune marketplaces using the keywords the RCWR show, so that you never miss out. Episodes are available for all iDevices. That's going to do it, folks, until we hear from you all this Sunday night at 11 p.m. Eastern for the RCWR post show covering the fallout from TNA Final Resolution. I am, of course, as always, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders, wishing you to be safe and be kind to one another, folks. We'll see you next time. Show off.